final race of this weekend is about to get underway, and we've got Will Blackwell-Chambers starting on pole position. However, he's got John Langridge starting right behind him and Ben Short starting right beside him. Can Ben be the third different winner on the top step of the podium this weekend? We're going to have to wait and see. So Andy, this one's straight over to you.
Well, Lyndsay, he could well do with taking a victory in this one, because he's seen Will Blackwell-Chambers eating into his points advantage this weekend. He and Will share the front row, with Will on pole, John Langridge and Jason Greatrex row 2, ahead of Steve Foden and Ollie Allwood, Adam Bessel and Tom Smith row 4, with David Waters and Joe Wiggin looking to fight back from that spin in race 2 to improve on 10th position. Ben Hansey down in 15th, he's one to watch for. He's had a disappointing weekend. Matt Luff won the second B race. He brings Dave Turton, Scott Leach, Richard Baxter and Graham Rumsey through with him into this, the final A race of the weekend. So, 2 different winners so far. Blackwell-Chambers and Short sharing the front row, and Short has not won yet this weekend, as Lyndsay alluded to. Can he do it in race 3? Let's find out. The lights go out, the rush towards the Hatchet's hairpin begins, and Ben Short clearly has got a good start, because he's got a nose in front. In fact, he goes through. A brilliant start from Ben Short. Well, we heard him joking with Lyndsay after race 2 that he needed to get into Will Blackwell-Chambers' head between the races to have any chance of beating him into the first corner. Maybe he did, because something's worked, hasn't it? And he's got the lead, and Blackwell-Chambers down to second. Jason Greatrex had a mammoth lock-up under braking there down towards the first corner, and he is ahead of John Langridge, who did not get off the line well, interestingly, so neither of the inside grid slots at the front, Blackwell-Chambers first and Langridge third, got off the line well at all, and Langridge is now slipping backwards, look, because up the inside comes Steve Foden. They're 3 and 4 abreast further back. That surely won't work. Joe Wiggin has lost even more ground. Look, he's behind the very fast starting David Waters. David started down in 9th position. He's gained quite a few positions there. You've got Jack Brewer, the yellow and red car, going up the inside of him, though, down towards Brooklands, and Joe Wiggin will try to follow him through if he can. Got to be careful. Waters gets eased out wide, and through he will go. Number 72 is in there. That's the B race winner, Matt Luff. He's already making good progress as well, but Short leads. Blackwell-Chambers second, Greatrex third, Langridge fourth, Steve Foden is 5th, as he has been all weekend long. 2 5th places already in the first 2 races, and he's rounding out the top 5 now, with Adam Bessel having a better go of it, this time in 6th position. Through the right hand of the go at Honda Curve, onto the pit straight. Disaster for John Langridge on the start, then he's down to 4th, but it wasn't a brilliant start that for Blackwell-Chambers either, and Ben Short is in front of him now. As I said, 10 points separating them in the championship race in this early stage of the season. Almost a bit of paint traded there between John Langridge and Jason Greatrex, as Langridge goes through into 3rd, and Foden comes through as well. This could open the floodgates here, I fear, for Jason Greatrex. Adam Bessel trying to come with him, but can't quite do it, so 2 places lost there for Greatrex, from 3rd down to 5th, and Adam Bessel trying now to prise the door open as well, to move into that 5th position down towards the S's. He's not up the inside though, so I think the Welshman should hang on. Jason Greatrex got his first podium of the season yesterday, in the first race. Here very much his home circuit, and it wasn't that big a surprise to see him going well. Oh, that's Blackwell-Chambers! Will Blackwell-Chambers slowing. What's going on there for the man who is second in the championship? Will Blackwell-Chambers, all of a sudden the car slows. Now, has he been off? Is it a mechanical issue? He gets elbowed off the road now by Ollie Allwood, but Will Blackwell-Chambers from second place, he'd already lost the lead to Ben Short, and now he's dropping right down towards the back of the top 10, look, because Allwood's up the inside, and Tom Smith coming through with him, so Will Blackwell-Chambers in real trouble, as if things weren't going badly enough with Ben Short leaping him at the start. Now he's staring down the barrel of a really poor finish, which he can ill afford, because it's been a surprisingly inconsistent start to the season for Will Blackwell-Chambers already. Oh, that was all very lively indeed, wasn't it? That was Matt Luff getting overtaken by David Waters, and Martin Tolley saying, "Me too," and diving up the inside as well. Luff trying to fight back around the outside line. You can tell it's the final race of the weekend, can't you? Both he and Waters run out wide, and I think Tolley's going to get back ahead of the pair of them. Right, deep breath, everybody. This is John Langridge, and he is now into 2nd place, is he? Yes, with Steve Foden 3rd, ahead of Jason Greatrex. Steve Foden has never had a podium finish in his... he's had 1 podium finish last year. He's not had one yet this season, but he has really come alive this weekend at Pembrey, and he's into a podium spot now, with Blackwell-Chambers slipping down the order, and Jason Greatrex behind him as well now. He's looking really strong, isn't he? Clearly got that car working well this weekend, and he'll now be trying to work with John Langridge to pull away from Greatrex and Bessel behind, and maybe, just maybe, close in on Ben Short. There is Will Blackwell-Chambers, so he's still going, and whatever the hiccup was a lap ago, it seems to have been temporary, which is good news, because it means that he at least can try and regroup and pick off some more places as the race goes on, but it's bad news because if there is some sort of underlying mechanical drama, they need to get that sorted before the next round at Cadwell Park. Across the start-finish line they go. There's Langridge second, Foden third, Greatrex fourth, Bessel fifth, so down to sixth position then for Blackwell Chambers, which would equal his worst finish of the year so far if he stays there, and that worst finish came in the first race of the season. He's not been out of the top 4 since, and he's had 4 appearances on the podium, including the victory earlier on this morning. He's not likely to stay where he is, though, you'd have to say, based on the speed that he's shown so far this weekend. He should be able to move through this pack and may yet be able to get himself onto the podium, but he's made life an awful lot more difficult for himself than needs be. Through the S's, Langridge second place. Now, are they catching the race leader Ben Short? If they are, it's not massively, because the gap, to the naked eye at least, is not coming down particularly rapidly. Steve Foden, I bet he can't believe his luck now. He's in third position. Well, I say luck, but that's not really fair, because it's not really... you've been fortunate in that Blackwell Chambers had that moment or issue or whatever it was that brought Foden into the podium spots. But he's been driving solidly inside the top 5 all weekend long, and he'd already passed Jason Greatrex somewhere along the line. So this has just been a really solid weekend for Steve, and if he can continue this sort of pace throughout the rest of the year, you never know what he might be able to achieve. He's actually 5th in the points coming into this race. He's about 50 points off the championship lead, but with drop scores that will come down. Whoa, Martin Tolley, excuse me, with a big moment coming out of the final turn. Got a wheel on the grass, and that's not the place to be doing that. Onto the brakes though, that's Jack Brewer in front of him. There is Jack Brewer, who has very much attracted the attention of Tom Smith here, because Tom is having to defend busily from him. He's also trying to attack Ollie Allwood in front, so this little trio of cars fighting over 7th place. 7th place belongs to this man Ollie Allwood at the moment. Tom Smith 8th, but Allwood's on the grass, and so that might change before too much longer. He'll have dirt on his tyres as well, heading down towards the S's, but Smith has got his own troubles from Jack Brewer, who's attacking him. The 3 of them couldn't be much closer as they come through the S's on this occasion, but the positions don't change hands just now. Brewer with that tight line through the S's, it in theory should cost you momentum through the second part of the S's, but actually we've seen it used quite a few occasions this weekend to get on the inside line for this corner, Brooklands. Of course, it's one thing for these drivers who maybe have never raced here at Pembrey to learn the circuit and learn how to drive it quickly, but then it takes quite a while for them to learn how to race here. Where are the overtaking opportunities? Where do you need to defend? Where can you maybe force mistakes out of other drivers? And they're starting now in this 3rd and final race of the weekend for most of these drivers. They are starting now to figure out just where they need to place their car in order to make a move. Side by side here, Tom Smith on the inside of Ollie Allwood. There's just about enough room, and Ollie left him just about enough room. He was trying to come over to cover, but Smith was fully alongside already and goes through now into 7th position. Allwood 8th, Jack Brewer 9th. And then it looks as though that is Martin Tolley still in 10th, just ahead of David Water. Down through the left-hander they go then at Dabini. Oh, and look at that. Allwood, I didn't think there was room then up the inside of Tom Smith, but he found some room. He prized the door open and goes back through. So Tom Smith, no sooner has he taken that spot away from Ollie Allwood, loses it again just 2 corners later. Ollie, a feisty racer though, and he is 4th in the points as a result of some of the feisty racing we saw from him at Brands Hatch, but he's done well actually to fight back from that disappointing qualifying effort, which saw him finish down the order in the previous race, and that is Blackwell Chambers slowing again. Will Blackwell Chambers surely is going to have to bring that car into the pit lane? There is some sort of intermittent fault with that car that means that he loses acceleration. It seems to come back to him soon after, but he can't keep going if that keeps on happening. Has he pulled into the pit lane? I think he has. So Will Blackwell Chambers is about to chalk up his first non-finish of the season, and this is pivotal because John Langridge also has a non-finish from Brands Hatch, and they will now be equal on non-finishes. That's 1 dropped score used for both of the 2 drivers, both of whom will be definite championship contenders this year, and that in a way puts the advantage very much in the favour of Ben Short. We can start taking drop scores into account after this race really, because they drop more than 1 result, so it's pointless really looking at it until you've got a couple of meetings under your belt. But with now 2 of the main championship protagonists having drop scores, 3 if you include Brian Trott, who's not here this weekend. We're going to have to start calculating the drop scores, I think, as early as the 3rd meeting of the season. Very exciting as far as the points are concerned, and there are still more points to be debated in this race. Blackwell Chambers may be out of it, but I can tell you at the head of the field, John Langridge is now starting to reel in the race leader Ben Short, so Langridge could yet have something to say about the race victory here. We're riding on board with Martin Tolley, and he has got Joe Wiggin up the inside, and Joe goes through down at Brooklands, so Wiggin gains another position. Joe 3rd in the points, 30 points off championship leader Ben Short, but only 20 behind Blackwell Chambers, so he'll be glad to see Blackwell Chambers in strife. 10th place so far is Joe Wiggins' worst finish, and that was from the previous race, but he looks set to improve on this. But there is the visual proof of what I was just alluding to. John Langridge is no longer catching Ben Short, he's caught him, he's right with the race leader now, and look who's coming with him, Steve Foden. He's certainly never won one of these races before, at least not an A race, and he is only a few car lengths behind those leading two. I think in ordinary circumstances he doesn't quite have the pace of Short and Langridge, but if they start getting to it and fighting over this race lead and holding each other up, he could continue to close in and maybe challenge for that maiden victory. Either way, this is a vital battle now between John Langridge and Ben Short. Ben Short looking for his 3rd victory of the season, and that would be really significant because he would be the first person to have achieved 3 race victories this year. He won 2 at Brands Hatch. John Langridge and Will Blackwell Chambers have won 1 apiece so far this weekend. In fact, Ben is the only double victor this season because, of course, Brian Trott won the first race at Brands Hatch. If he can win another one, that would really give him an advantage in the championship. It's nice to have Ben Short hopefully sticking around for the full season this year as well, and really being a thorn in the side of some of the more established names that we've been used to seeing fighting at the front of the field in recent years. Didn't get a great exit though from the final corner there, so John Langridge, you can't even see John Langridge, so close behind the race leader is he, but he is going to settle in line for now. John is a canny racer, and he knows that there's no point just attacking straight away. That does have its benefits. You can sometimes surprise the driver that you've been catching over a number of laps and attack on the first opportunity, but more often than not they see that coming. It's better just to sit behind them, suss out where you're quicker than them, where they're a bit vulnerable maybe, and try to force a mistake or maybe capitalise on your strengths and their weaknesses. But look, that 1 lap or so of nose to tail running for Short and Langridge has really slowed them down and allowed Steve Foden to get even closer now, and Jason Greatrex isn't a million miles behind them in 4th either, so this could turn into a really entertaining final race of the weekend now for the Mazda MX-5 Championship. Race 3A often is one of the best races of the weekend because it's the last race to score big points, 100 points for a race victory plus 2 for the fastest lap, and in his pursuit of the race leader, John Langridge has set the fastest lap. Blackwell Chambers had that honour in the first 2 races. He's clearly not going to do that in race 3, so John Langridge would really like those bonus points. He could really do with them to try and fight back from that non-finish at Brands Hatch. Across the start-finish line they go. It's worth mentioning, though, that if you're going to have a non-finish, race 3 is the one to do it in because it doesn't have any bearing on your grid position for the next race, whereas if you non-finish from either race 1A or 2A, then it puts you on the B grid for the next race, and that really does ruin your weekend. So at least Blackwell Chambers has chosen the right race to have mechanical issues. It's so rare that you see mechanical problems in this championship, though. The cars run to a very high standard and are fairly simple mechanically, really, because they are so closely based on the road-going MX-5 Mark 1 machine. And indeed, all of these cars start off as road-going Mark 1 MX-5s and are then converted into racers, so the engine is pretty much standard. Therefore, it is not too highly strung, so mechanical problems extremely rare. We heard Will, though, saying in his podium interview, oh, we'll back to that in a moment, though, because we've got a new leader. John Langridge, out of absolutely nowhere, pounces up the inside of Ben Short. Now, Ben took a very wide line then into Brooklands corner, and I don't think he expected Langridge to attack. I certainly didn't, but Langridge has attacked, and that's what I meant. You've got to surprise the driver in front sometimes, and John Langridge does exactly that. Now, can Ben Short fight back? He's going to try it into Honda. That won't work. The final corner on the circuit, we've seen a couple of overtakes there this weekend, but you're not going to overtake someone like John Langridge at the final turn. It's better just to settle in line, carry the speed down the pit straight, and Ben Short now finds himself in a really difficult position because he's trying to attack for the race lead and defend his second place as well, but he does go straight back up the inside. Langridge has to leave the door open. Ben Short going for first place. Has he got the inside line for the second corner at Spitfire? He has, I think, and Langridge will have to hold out wide. He, though, has the inside line for the next two corners. This one at Benny and the next one at the entry to the S's, and Short has to be careful because Steve Foden is right there with them as well. 3 cars for the race lead, down 4 cars nearly, because Jason Greatrex is taking full advantage of this squabbling going on in front of him to make it a 16-wheeler for the race lead. Langridge, Short, Foden, Greatrex, any one of the 4 of them could legitimately win this race, and 3 of them are likely to be on the podium, but in what order? Langridge really needs this victory. Ben Short already has 2 this season. Langridge had 1 yesterday, and out of absolutely nowhere pulled a brilliant move a lap ago at Brooklands to take the lead away from Ben Short. It's not often you get to mug someone of Ben Short's experience like that, but John, who's only in his 3rd full season of MX-5 Championship racing, is really, really impressing in 2019. Got his first wins and podiums last year, won 2 races, and that was included in his 11 podium positions that he scored last season, and he's already showing that sort of pace again this year. But Ben Short, frustrated at having lost the lead, is now immediately trying to fight back again round the outside at the Hatchett's hairpin, but he leaves the door open for Steve Foden, and Foden goes through into second place. Short elbowed out onto the grass. He's going to have to try and hang tough around the outside of the second corner, and in fairness, Steve Foden, I think they lost some momentum out of the first quarter from taking that very tight line, and so Short hangs on, but Steve Foden for a brief moment there had his nose in front for second place again. He's now got attention from Jason Greatrex behind him though, so has to turn his attention momentarily from attack to defence. That's just given John Langridge a few car lengths advantage though over a slightly rattled Ben Short, I think. That is always the risk. If you go round that, the inside line is very easy to defend at Hatchett, so it forces the attacking driver to go around the outside, which is fine if there's just the 2 of you fighting for position, but when there's a queue of 3 or 4 or even more cars, you daren't go to that outside line, because if you get elbowed onto the grass, you could so easily find yourself plummeting down the order. Thankfully for Ben Short, he salvaged that one, stays in second place, and Steve Foden now is receiving a real workover from Jason Greatrex, who wants to try and repeat his podium result from yesterday. Greatrex is on the verge of going into the top 5 in the points. He comes into this race 6th in the championship race and about 16 points behind Steve Foden for 5th position. So this is actually a significant battle between these 2. There's Adam Bessel, he's still in 5th position. Ollie Allwood is 6th, there with Tom Smith in 7th. Jack Brewer 8th position. They're the 3 cars you can see continuing to dice away here on screen. Out of Hatchett's, down towards Spitfires again. It's a job to know where to look in this race. The first 2 races have been fairly calm, it must be said, by MX-5 Championship standards. I think as everyone was getting used to the circuit, as I said, figuring out where you can overtake, where you need to defend. Now they're all a little bit more confident, and it's the last race of the day of the weekend as well. I think they've all let loose a little bit in this one. We've seen some spectacular racing, and I don't think it's over yet, either for the lead battle or the rest of the positions being debated throughout the top 10 and indeed the rest of the field. Ollie Allwood then, 4th in the points, as I said, but losing a bit of ground. He's only actually 2 points ahead of Steve Foden, so he's likely to lose that position in this race. So Steve, if he hangs on to this podium position, in fact, even if he finishes 4th or 5th, will move ahead of Ollie Allwood for 4th place in the championship. As I said, this is all before the drop scores get taken into account, and that then all starts to change things. Across the start-finish line we go. Top 2 a little bit more spaced out this time. Steve Foden 3rd, Jason Greatrex 4th though. They're certainly not spaced out. They are almost overlapping as they turn into the Hatchett's hairpin. Foden starting to defend a bit more busily now, and that's just allowing the top 2 to escape ever so slightly. Through the left-hander at Benny, down towards the S's once again into the final third of the race now. These drop scores I keep mentioning, by the way, you drop your 3 worst scores over the season. So for Blackwell Chambers and Langridge, one of those will be non-finishes. Langridge will also be able to drop his B race in Brands Hatch as well, where he finished 1st, but that was classified 33rd overall. And so for Blackwell Chambers, he'll be dropping a DNF, 6th place and 4th place, so he'll be dropping slightly more points. The point is they both had a non-finish, so in a way though, Langridge, the point I was making earlier on about the fact that it then affected his result in the next race because he was demoted to the B grid, that's essentially 2 of his drop scores used up, whereas Blackwell Chambers has only had 1 really bad finish, which will be this race. Language, though, with not finishing a 33rd, means he can only really afford one more bad race, and then that's it. Everything else will more or less count. He may not even win this one yet, because Ben Short's right back on him now, pulls alongside, under braking for Hatchets. Watch for the switchback manoeuvre, because Langridge went in very defensively, and Short tried to tee it up, but ended up almost running into the back of him. Side by side for third in the background. Look, Greytrek's up the inside of Foden. Has he gone through? They're wheel to wheel still, but Foden will have the inside line for the next few corners. If he can hang on in there, we'll catch up with those two in a moment or two. The leading duo are nose to tail. For third place, it's still Foden. Foden in the black and gold car, still ahead of Jason Greytrex. Right-hander at the second part of the S's, and that starts these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive right-handers through the second half of the lap, and then into the start of the next lap at the first couple of corners. Lots and lots of turning right here at Pembrey. Can make it difficult to overtake in some ways, because if you can't get to that inside line at one corner, you're probably not going to be at the inside for the next corner either. Look at Greytrex though, he's trying to get to the inside down towards the kink at Woodlands. That's brave stuff. Again, we focus on the leaders coming through, but for third position, Greytrex is starting to get impatient now, I think. Oh, it really didn't work. Look, he lost a lot of momentum there. Possibly not the most sensible place to try and launch an attack, but desperation starting to creep in now. On to the final lap of the race then. John Langridge and Ben Short debating the race victory. Langridge looking for his second win of the year, Short looking for his third, and looking to try and extend his championship lead. Out of Hatchets they go. Not quite as close together this time, by which I mean there's about half a car length between them instead of maybe a bumper's width. And Langridge just needs to not make any mistakes on this final lap, but that is an awful lot easier said than done. Across the rallycross start-finish line there, down towards the S's. He's just moving over to the middle of the road there, and Short, he wasn't really close enough to attack. He was just trying to make that movement in the mirrors to try and distract John Langridge, force him to outbrake himself, which sort of worked. You can see that Short is quicker through the S's, and he goes up the inside line. Ben Short, with less than half a lap to go, going for the race lead. The next corner's a right-hander. He's got his nose in front, and he has got the lead away. Ben Short fights back just in the nick of time to take the lead away from John Langridge. Now, surely Langridge can't fight back. He's going to try, though. He's up the inside line, almost on the grass. He's there, wheel to wheel, wing mirrors bashing as they go down the back straight, and he's back through. John Langridge back into the race lead, and Short's on the grass, saves it, gathers it together. One more corner to go. Langridge on the inside, Short on the outside will have the better run to the flag. Get the camera ready. This could be a very close finish, but John Langridge will do it. Fantastic racing there between the two of them. The utmost respect was shown. I don't think there was any serious contact made there. Maybe a tiny rub as Langridge somehow squoze up the inside down towards the right-hander at Woodlands and retook the lead and took his second victory of the season. Ben Short second, Steve Foden third, then Jason Greytrex and Adam Bessel get to top five. Ollie Allwood, Tom Smith, Jack Brewer, Joe Wiggin and Matt Luff are next up. There, though, is one of the most significant bits of news from the race. Will Blackwell-Chambers a non-finisher, whilst John Langridge takes the victory and the 2 bonus points for fastest lap. Ben Hansey's miserable weekend ends in suitably miserable fashion. A non-finish in the final race, but what a race it was.
John, huge congratulations from us. Final round and you're back on the top step.
Yeah, brilliant. We were a bit disappointed as a team after the second race earlier, but third is still a fantastic result. So I had really had the bit between my teeth in that one. I unfortunately really hashed the start and lost a place to Jason, and then it was just all gloves off. Ben and Will were up the road, but managed to claw back a few positions, and Will had a problem, and after that it was, big battle with Ben.
Those last 2 laps though, where did that come from?
I made a bit of a mistake down the back end and had it all crossed up, and Ben Ben got alongside me and passed me, and I just about managed to squeak back through. But the car's been mega, thanks to Blink. It's just been awesome.
Ben, that was one hell of a battle.
Yeah, the most of the race was irrelevant. It was the last 3 laps really. I knew where John was really strong. I think John knew where I was really strong. So when he was in front, he was defending when he needed to and not to. But I kept one in the bag. Didn't let him know. Didn't let him know my plan. And I executed it perfectly. And I was so pleased with myself on the back straight. I forgot to defend, and he came back past. So a schoolboy error. It won't happen again. And I look forward to having a race with these boys next time.
Wait, does that mean you might be coming back with us for the rest of the season?
I want to do Cadwell. I haven't driven Cadwell for years, literally years. So I want to go and do Cadwell. It's cancelled off the other calendar, unfortunately. So yeah, I'll be around for Cadwell. Just need to convince Brian Chandler's team to sponsor me another set of tyres.
Fantastic. Well, we cannot wait to see you at Cadwell.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Second podium for you, good sir, but what a hell of a battle.
It was incredible, you know. John Langridge's dad said to me at the start of this race, he said, "You've got to take your opportunities," and I think I did that today. You know, Will unfortunately pulled first gear coming out of the one hairpins. I was in fourth, managed to get past Jason, and it's all a little bit of a blur, if I'm honest. You know, we wouldn't be where we are without MCR and Rob Boston and my dad behind us. You know, they've done an amazing job every single weekend to get me on the grid, and I'm just over the moon with, you know, to finish this weekend in with 2 5ths and a 3rd on the second round of the season. I'm just ecstatic, Lyndsay, I really am.
There was a moment there where I thought there's a few more laps in this. You might have snuck past first and second.
Yeah, when John initially went for the lead, he went the corner onto the back straight, and I thought they were going to start squabbling to a point where I could get involved. That did happen, and Ben had a mistake going into the hairpin, the first hairpin, and I managed to get past him, but he just launched out of the hairpin, managed to hang it around the outside, and then I just got gapped a little bit. And then Jason started catching me in the mirrors, and I saw the timer coming down, and I was like, I just need to concentrate on trying to get on this podium, and that's what I did.
So a bit of a dark horse coming up in this season, I believe, but will you be joining us next time at Cadwell?
Yes, we're doing the full season again, so we're here for the full season. We're trying to make some more progress on where we finished last year, but just got to focus one race at a time, one weekend at a time.
Fantastic. Right, well, congratulations, and go enjoy your 3rd place victory.
Thank you.